Hey guys, my name is Shirley and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am just going to be sharing with you guys some of the career tips or some of the lessons that I've picked up along my career that I don't feel like I was explicitly taught, but I've kind of just learnt from being in the work industry myself. Lesson number one that I've learnt in my career is every single workplace has its own issues. Now, I've worked for some really amazing companies, and then I've also worked in workplaces that weren't so great. And from all those different workplaces that I've worked in, even in places that I absolutely loved, is I found there's always an issue with a particular workplace. There is no workplace that exists out there, well, not that I think of, that's going to be perfect. Because in every workplace, right, you have so many different people coming into work with so many different backgrounds, people with different objectives, people with different ways of working and all those kinds of things. So it's impossible to have that many differences and have absolute perfection that works for everyone. So what I've learned is, every place has its own issues. So if you want to find issues in your workplace, you will definitely find them because they're there. So it's up to you to choose to focus on the positives and to have a positive mindset. If you focus on the negatives, which you will find, that can pretty much ruin your whole experience at that workplace. So it's all about how you choose to approach things. You know, there's some workplaces where I've worked, the team was great, but then the systems that we used, as in the actual tech that we use, wasn't so great. I could have complained every single day about the systems that we're using and have completely ruined my work experience there. So try to pick out the positives in the workplaces that you're working. Try not to go out and look for negatives because you will find them. And when you find them, that's when you dread going to work. That's when you feel like your job is like painful and all those kinds of things. Next lesson that I've learned in my career, and this is one that I particularly picked up when I was in consulting, is to not open my inbox until I am ready to formally start my work day. Now, when I used to work at one of the big four consulting firms, as we all know, workload in the consulting firms is just ridiculous. I must say my team was quite good. Like, yes, we had busy periods, but then we also had times that weren't ridiculous. So I feel like my experience was overall on a positive end, but there were times when we were so busy and there was times that I was so focused on my work that literally the moment that my alarm clock would ring and I would wake up, the first thing I would check is my work inbox. And that was the absolute worst thing that I could do in terms of my day, in terms of my mental space, and in terms of my overall productivity at work. What I found is, let's say I wake up at like 7 a.m. and I'm not meant to log in until like 9 a.m. But if I've opened my emails at 7 a.m. and let's say I see things that are like urgent or things that need to be actioned or whatnot, my time between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. is just gonna be thinking about all those things that I need to action and all those things that need to be done for that particular day. I found times, for instance, where I needed to go into the gym in the morning, or when I would actually even be commuting into work, that time period that I would have in the morning between the time I wake up and the time I formally sit at my desk and start working was already compromised and was already being filled by work. Like, I might be at the gym, but while I'm at the gym, I'm thinking about that email that I opened up, and then I'm just stressing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to action it now. Things are gonna happen, things are gonna fall apart if I don't do it, and all that kind of stuff. So I found whenever I would open my emails in the morning, I just got so anxious, I just got so nervous, I felt so flustered about all the things, because I would know that there are things that needed to be done, but because I haven't formally started working yet, I couldn't work on them per se. Or there were times, let's say I would roll out of bed, check my work emails, I see something needs to be done right there and then before I know it, I'm already on my desk. I haven't even showered, I haven't even brushed my teeth, I haven't even had a coffee, I haven't done anything. I've literally just rolled over through to my desk to start working to fix the thing that I just saw. So one day I identified how that was really affecting me, and I decided, I do not open my emails until it is time for me to sit at my desk and actually start working. Next lesson that I've learned in my career is to always under promise and over deliver. So with the human mind, it is very terrible at estimating exactly how long tasks take us. I found a lot of the time in my career, there's so many tasks that I thought were gonna take me maybe a few minutes, but then they're actually taken me longer, and I would have promised somebody that I'm gonna have something ready at X amount of time, but then when I actually start doing the task, I realize, oh crap, I haven't allocated enough time for this. So now the thing that I do is I always just mentally, I set two deadlines. I set a deadline that I think it's going to take me, how long I think something is going to take me. And then I set a deadline like with a bit of a buffer, and the deadline with the buffer is the deadline that I promise people. So always under promise and over deliver, because it's always better to do things that way, and definitely much worse to do it the other way around. The next thing that I've learned in my career is moving companies is one of the best things that you can do to increase your salary. Now, if you look back at like older generations, or even some people now, we have such loyalty to our companies, and that's not a bad thing. Having loyalty is a great thing, but a lot of the time that comes at the expense of your income. So if you stay with a particular organization, year on year, if you're lucky, your salary increases maybe by 3%. That's actually not even like in a line with inflation. The discrepancy between wage growth and inflation is just blows my mind. Anyway, we're not speaking economics right now. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of the time, if you stay with the company year on year, you might not even get a salary rise. And the times that you do get pay rises, you'll be lucky if you get like maybe at 3%. 5% I think is like the absolute tops that a lot of people will give. But if you move around companies, you're able to negotiate usually a lot more salary than, let's say, if you were in your current organization. For myself, over the last 12 months, I've effectively increased my salary by over 60%. So if I look at the salary that I was on 12 months ago, and I look at the salary that I'm on now, there's a more than 60% increase in that, which is completely wild. And that's all because I've moved companies. I've moved companies a few times over the last 12 months. Had I stayed at my original company, I probably would have gotten maybe a 3% pay rise if I was lucky. Or maybe if I was lucky, 5% absolute tops. But by moving around, I've increased it by over 60%, which is just ridiculous. Like if you look 3%, 60%, that's wild. That's literally like ridiculously wild. So yeah, moving around companies really can play a very, very big role in terms of your salary. Now, this is a double-edged sword, and you really got to play your cards out well. I'm not saying job hop every single 6 months or every 12 months. You got to be strategic about it, because it's a double-edged sword. What you gain in, let's say, your salary increases and getting experience from different companies, while you do that, you are sacrificing depth of experience. So for any role that you're in, it usually takes an average person about 6 to 9 months to actually be productive and to actually start adding value. So in your first 6 months, yes, you might be doing your job, but you're not really adding that much extra value as compared to, let's say, 12 months down the track. So if you're moving jobs every 6 months, every 9 months, you're losing that depth of experience. You don't get opportunity, let's say, to lead like big projects and things like that, just because you don't have that depth. So yes, it's great to move around companies to help increase your salary, but just be conscious of that and really be strategic about the way that you do things, because what you gain in salary, you may be sacrificing in other things in the long run. Next career tip that I can give you guys is to stop using the words "I just wanted to" in your emails. I used to write emails and say, I just wanted to follow up on this report, or I just wanted to see if you're available on this particular date. What I found is by taking out just those two words, just and wanted, my email sounded way more assertive in a good way. They sounded stronger, they sounded more assured, and they still made sense. Like, I guarantee you, if you take out those two words, your sentence is still gonna make sense. For instance, instead of saying, I just wanted to follow up on this report, you can write an email saying, Hi David, following up on this report. Still makes sense. Another example, I just wanted to see if you're available for a call. Scratch just and wanted and say, hi, reaching out to see if you're available for a call at 8:30 or whatnot. So see, I've taken out just and wanted. I sound more confident. It doesn't diminish what I'm saying, and it still makes sense. Next thing that I've learned is relationships are so key in your career, and they can open up so many doors. I know this is something that we hear so often. Networking is important. Build relationships in your career. There's a reason why those things keep getting said over and over again, and it's because they actually are important. Relationships and networking really make such a big difference in your career. I see this a lot because I am in recruitment. So I see a lot of the positions, let's say, that are advertised internal only. Like, obviously our job as well is to come in and make sure that a fair and equitable recruitment process has been run. But a lot of the times hiring managers come to us with a pre-identified candidate. In this pre-identified candidate, it's usually somebody who they've worked in adjacent with in past, they have relationships with, they know their work ethic, they've seen the kind of work that they've been doing, and they've just overall built a great relationship in the past. So many career opportunities come up by having those great relationships. And also there are a lot of times that roles might come up internally that may not be advertised, for instance, but if you have those relationships with, let's say, a hiring a manager or somebody who's a bit more senior, they can tell you to keep like a heads up for that role, or reach out to a particular recruiter or whatnot, and it really does make a difference. Next tip that I can give you guys is to have a wins inbox. So with our work, right, a lot of us, you will usually have our annual performance reviews. Our performance reviews usually come around every 12 months, and at that 12 months, a lot of people start scrambling around to find like any good wins that they may have to help with negotiating pay, or to help with like their performance reviews or whatnot. But what I would encourage is throughout the year, if you get any emails of praise, or if you get any emails of congratulations or anything like that, put that in a separate inbox or tag it in your inbox, and have just a folder full of wins, or full of your accomplishments, or full of projects that you've absolutely smashed. One that helps you so much when it comes to annual performance review, because you're now not scrambling around or trying to think, oh, what did I do in the last 12 months? What did I do? It's already all there in that inbox. And then it also helps on days where you're just not feeling great, or let's say you've received some not so great feedback, or you're just having a dull day, and sometimes and it helps a lot with imposter syndrome when you're not feeling very confident, or when you're not feeling strong in your abilities. You can just go into that inbox, see literally a record of all the amazing things that you've done, and I guarantee that will help with making you feel more confident. It'll help with combating imposter syndrome and all those kinds of things. So have a wins inbox. It'll make all the world of a difference. Okay, I gotta speak quick because my battery's about to die. Now, this has helped me a lot with combating procrastination. There's so many times that I'd open up my emails and just see an email and be like, oh my gosh, I'll do that later because that task seems so overwhelming, or there's just so much to do or whatnot. And then I would end up having like a backlog of crazy amounts of work that I needed to do, just because I kept pushing them back, thinking that they were too hard, or thinking they're gonna take me so much time. But what I found is a lot of the time you just need to start. And once you start, the task usually isn't as bad as it seems. For instance, when I need to let a candidate know that they've been unsuccessful for a role, let's say I know in the morning, a lot of the times I procrastinate that until the end of the day because I don't want to deal with that bad phone call. But now I just action it when I get it, because I found one that affects my whole day, because I'm always thinking about that task that I need to do. And now like my whole day is just thinking about the negative task that I need to do, or the task that seems so big. And a lot of the times when I'd call the candidates, I'd be understanding, I'd give them the feedback, they would thank me for the opportunity or whatnot, and move along. And then it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So just try to tackle your tasks head on. Just try to do things when you get them. And this applies to like all areas of life. Usually things aren't as bad as they seem. So just nip them in the butt straight away, and you'll realize that tasks aren't as difficult or as hard, or consequences aren't as bad as you had played them out to be in your head. Next tip that I can give you is to have your LinkedIn profile up to date. But the reason why this is important is the way that people are finding jobs now has really changed a lot. And again, I'm saying this speaking in terms of recruitment. A lot of recruiters now are filling a lot of their positions by proactively reaching out to candidates on LinkedIn. So a lot of recruiters will have what they call a LinkedIn recruiter license, which is where we can do like Boolean searches and proactive searches on candidate profiles, and we usually search on keywords, and LinkedIn then returns profiles of people with those keywords. Let's say you work at Microsoft and you use Java or whatnot. Under your LinkedIn experience at Microsoft, put a few dot points of the nature of the work that you do there, and some of the things or some of the tools that you use. Because let's say I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for somebody who's familiar with Java. I will do a search in LinkedIn on Java, let's say candidates in Sydney, and then LinkedIn will then give me profiles of candidates that fit that profile. So if you don't have those keywords in your LinkedIn profile, for instance, I'm not going to be able to see that. And a lot of roles now are actually being filled by people being reached out on LinkedIn. For instance, the role that I'm in right now, I didn't formally apply for that role. I had a recruiter that reached out to me. They saw my LinkedIn profile. They thought I'd be great for the role. I interviewed, and then I ended up getting the role. And I know so many people who have been in that situation, and personally, I filled so many roles by reaching out to people on LinkedIn. So one, have a LinkedIn profile if you don't have one, and two, really work on developing your LinkedIn profile just so that you have more opportunities come to you just even when you're not even looking. And with that, let's say you do have a recruiter reach out to you but you're not looking to leave your current employer or whatnot, I'd say connect with that recruiter on LinkedIn, just because you never know what the future holds. Maybe 6 months down the track you will be ready to move, and then maybe you can reconnect with that particular recruiter. Or a lot of recruiters, sometimes they post jobs that they're looking after on their LinkedIn, so it also helps you to keep an eye out on different opportunities that may be out there in the world of open jobs. And the last tip that I'm going to leave you guys with is you are replaceable at work, but you are not replaceable at home. And I think there's just something for us to be mindful of when we are going about at work, especially early on or even later on in our careers. I think a lot of us, sometimes we give too much and leave nothing else for ourselves or for the people close to us. And 100% work hard in your job, you know, do your job, deliver, do the things that you need to do, but don't sacrifice your personal lives and don't sacrifice other things. Because if I was to resign from my current company today, they would start advertising for my role the very next day. But that's not necessarily the case in terms of your personal relationships, your mental space, your physical health, or your family, your friends, and all those kinds of things. So just keep in mind that as much as we should be doing our best and as much as we should be delivering and giving 100% in our works, that shouldn't come at the cost of all the other things that are also important in our lives. Anyway, guys, those are all the tips that I have learned over my years of working, and I hope that you'll be able to take at least one of these and implement it in your own career or in your own personal life. If you have liked this video, make sure to pop that like button and make sure to comment down below any tips or any career advice that you may have. I really would love to learn from you guys, and I would love us to all learn from each other. Anyways, with all that being said and done, dream big, keep well, and hustle hard. I'll catch